UFC White House card, Dana said it was set, and then when they asked like a follow-up question, he was like, "Oh, well, what did he say? That it wasn't set, but things have to be confirmed." But like a second earlier, he had opened that door by saying that the fights had been made.
He
Did you see
always,
that?
yeah, he always does that type of stuff. And first of all, like the UFC, fights are set until they're not. We've seen a guy on this card, Dan Ige, step in on like 6 hours' notice and fight 2 weight classes up against Diego Lopez because nothing is truly ever set in this sport. Ayla Harrison was supposed to fight on that Patty Pimblett card a little while ago. Didn't because she got hurt.
How
So
many title fights? What does the White House look like?
We have like 2 different options laid out, and the matchmaking process has already started. So, yeah, we got the White House card done last week.
The card is done already to go?
Yep.
Nice. How many title fights are you able to say?
No. Okay. I'm not saying anything.
So you when you were answering the question about the White House, you said you had 2 options, but then you said it was done. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so we laid out 2 different options. I didn't say it was done. I said the card was built. Yeah.
Classic Dana.
yeah,
Classic Dana.
yeah, yeah. Always, bro, with that shit. That's just Dana White. So yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's probably still in the works. It's definitely not set in stone. He's fibbing.
Yeah.
You agree?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's really a rough look for him to have the one clip where he goes, "Yeah, it's done. The card's built," and then be like, "I never said it was done. I said the card." Like to have the one right next to the other. But that's nothing new for Dana White, and I mean, he's talking about how the card's built and they're not making decisions. We this. 2 weeks ago, he was saying in front of a court of law that he hasn't made any fights in forever. And then a bunch of people came out to back that up. So can you believe anything? Should you believe anything? Does it even matter? I don't know.
Yeah, he may not even know what's going on with the matchmaking process right now.
Honestly, wouldn't that be the safest thing? But like Dana White can't reveal things because he literally doesn't know them. What a genius strategy for the head of a company to have. Like, don't tell me anything. Don't make me a part of anything so that I can't ruin it.
Yeah, can't leak what you don't know. Yeah, just one more thing to mention. Is it just me? I mean, I heard a little while ago, like a clip from him when he was like, "Yeah, I kind of stopped exercising as hard as I was, and like, I'm not really on the diet anymore." He looks like he's put on some weight, right?
Yeah, that face does look a little bit thicker, right?
Yeah, yeah, he looks a little bit chubbier again, especially like that bottom right hand. He's starting to like look more like Kingpin from Marvel again.
Yeah.
But
maybe he's doing it on purpose.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, we got another Paramount Plus Fight Night card, Strickland versus.
Get used to saying that.
Yeah, Paramount Plus. They gotta fix their sound mixing. That's the only complaint that I have so far. And like, the commercials, whatever. It's not the worst thing in the world, right? Like,
they've gotten better with that. They've improved that from the first one, which makes me feel good about the whole venture. If they're gonna like hear, some complaints, especially early on, but like, hey, I could deal with. We talked about it. I could deal with the way they have the setup.
Yeah, I just want a little bit more microphone time with the corners, and they've been slowly starting to do that. Like, I want to hear fucking Eric Nixick in Sean Strickland's corner this weekend, like saying some motivational shit to him, and then Sean Strickland not listening to him and doing the opposite of whatever he says. So,
especially for the main card, at least,
Yeah.
You have to cut some of them out on the undercard with the prelims. Like, we don't get Juliana Miller's corner.
Oh no! Oh no! But there's a few that like
if you want to have commercial during Juliana Miller's fight.
Yeah, no one's gonna be upset. Yeah, those are. But there's the ones that you want to hear. So that's the one complaint that I have so far, and the sound mixing is like a little bit weird, but it has been improving as well. So yeah, liking it so far. Got another one. You want to jump right in?
Let's do it.
It's time!
All right. So I just want to mention one thing too. Like, comment, subscribe, jump in the chat if you're with us. We love chatting with you. Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff. That's in the bio and in the description of the video @_Pickin winners. All right, so we got to open up this main card: Zach Reese versus Michel Pereira. I'm gonna go with Zach Reese, younger dude, I believe, right? He's
Yeah, by about 5 months, 6 months.
oh yeah, well, all right, well, less UFC tenured for sure. Less fights overall as a professional MMA fighter, 10-2 as opposed to Michel Pereira's 30 record. We're very familiar with Michel Pereira and his antics at this point. I always think back to that crazy backflip he did on Nico Price's face a few years ago, and the jumping attacks that he's done off of the cage, and just madness from Michel Pereira. But 3-fight losing streak, bit of a skid. He's a guy that he's so up, down, up, down. I'm kind of torn on this one, obviously, because we don't know too much or as much about Zach Reese as we do Michel Pereira as a UFC fighter. He hasn't fought the same caliber of opponents as Michel Pereira. You know what? I'm going to go with Michel Pereira to get it done this week. Maybe he'll go out there and do something exciting. It's a toss-up because when you look at the odds, it's +120 to -145. The +120 being Reese. The Tapology voters are pretty much split 55 to 45% in favor of Reese. So I'll be a little bit contrarian. I'll go with Michel Pereira to get it done in some kind of weird, funky fashion. Have fun with it. Open up the main card in an exciting way. What do you think, Tom?
That's so interesting that you decided to go there, because the whole time that you were talking up Zach Reese, I'm like, you know what? I'm kind of feeling Michel Pereira for no reason other than to kind of be a contrarian and kind of go against you. And then you had the last second switch to Michel Pereira and leave me kind of in the middle, not sure what to do. You mentioned that Tapology 55% was on Zach Reese. But with Pereira being the 145 favorite, Vegas is right a lot of the time. I'm going to go with Zach Reese if no reason other than to just make it interesting and go against you. And, maybe our records will deviate a little bit here. So, he's a little bit younger. He's a little bit as a decent size, bigger. And, I look at his last 5 because ultimately, the UFC is a what have you done for me lately kind of organization. And you look at, Jason McVeigh, he won by submission, accidental foul against Cedric Dumas. He's got a win over Dusko Trevorik by decision, meaning he went 3 rounds and got the unanimous decision even against Dusko Trevorik. I think that says a lot. Asmat Bagsakayev was, one of his 2 losses. And that honestly makes me feel a little bit better about where he stands with the UFC, knowing that he's got a loss and he's came back from it. Sure, there's a no contest in there, but it's 2 good appearances out of, some decent opponents. And, Michel Pereira will put himself in a bad position time and time again. I think Zach Reese, even though he's got the nickname Savage, he's going to understand who Pereira is and maybe not take the bait. So, I'm going to go with Zach Reese here. About +120, you could win some money, and 55% of Tapology, 3,100 votes are on him. So, let's be a little bit contrarian. I don't know if that counts as contrarian, but let's go with Zach Reese.
All right, yeah. Oh, now you're going against. Got it. All right, well, the next one we got Jacoby Smith versus Josiah Harrell. And I'm going to go with Jacoby Smith here. He's got a little bit more UFC experience under his belt, longer wingspan, taller guy. And both of these guys are 11-0. I'm curious if they're going to shuffle this card around because we have a couple of guys with a little bit more UFC name recognition sitting on that prelim card right now. But, we'll see because both of these guys are, relatively fresh faces, both 11-0 though, which makes it an exciting fight. But Jacoby Smith, last couple of fights in the UFC, finished victories. And, he's just very aggressive and wants to walk you down, press you up against the cage, body lock, take you to the ground. He's not a control guy. He wants to, absolutely annihilate you once he gets on top. So whether it be crazy overhands from the feet or a beat down on the ground and pound style, I think Jacoby Smith is going to get it done this week. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I agree with you. I haven't seen Josiah Harrell fight, admittedly, but I concur with everything you said about Jacob Smith, Cobb Smith. Yeah, I don't really have too much to add. I don't know about Josiah Hare. Something, the fact that there's no votes here on Tapology makes me think this might have been made fairly recently. And I think you make a strong point when you say they might shuffle this around a little bit. I don't know why this was put there. Was a fight canceled recently, and that just took its fifth. Took its space. Young pulled out. So, I guess you're trying to maybe show off Jacoby Smith, which is another reason to potentially go with him. So yeah, no reason to deviate on that one from me. Sergey Spivak taking on Ante Delja. What do you think about this one, Keith?
I don't know. My gut's telling me to go with Sergey Spivak right now. He's fought a really high quality, as high as it gets pretty much for this lackluster heavyweight division, but he's fought just about everybody up there. I know I'm going against Tapology right now. They're primarily voting on Ante to knock out Sergey Spivak, but I'm going to go with Sergey just because his grappling is always shown to shine through. The only guys that have beat his grappling are far superior grapplers and guys with far superior kickboxing. And his striking's gotten better. And when I say like far superior, I'm talking about like Cyril Gane and then Jailton Almeida, who just got released, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Jailton Almeida beat him in like a weird fight. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Sergey Spivak here. I think he's probably just gonna be looking for early takedowns, ground control, and then looking to lock something up. He likes to go for those chokes, collar ties. So, yeah, give me Sergey Spivak. I think he's going to do it by submission, but just straight up. What do you think?
Yeah, I like Sergey Spivak here too. A bit of a contrarian, both of us, I guess. Yeah, I there's something about the way he fights that's just boring enough that makes me think that he has an opportunity to stay away from Ant Delja. He's got the loss to Waldo Cortez Acosta, who I know that he's on a streak here a little bit, but I just can't really get behind him for whatever reason. And then his wins are a knockout of Marcin Tybura, who's another guy who I can't get behind, and I don't think there's much of a reason to. Maybe at one point there was. And Jorgen de Castro outside of the UFC, lost in the PFL. Just not a lot of great points. 35 and a half years old. Doesn't give me a lot of things to look forward to. And Sergey Spivak, I know that he's, maybe a bit of a boring fighter, but despite him being 2-3 over his last 5, Cyril Gane, nowhere near as athletic and powerful as Ante Delja is. And then Jailton Almeida got released, knockout from the back. Again, I just think that Sergey Spivak, that was Jailton Almeida. I thought Jailton Almeida was good. He got released because he ended up being boring, but I think he had the skills to be there, and I don't know why he chose to be boring when he has the ability to be exciting, like against Sergey Spivak, but I digress there. And then Waldo Cortez Acosta, he went the distance with other people are high on. So, yeah, give me Sergey Spivak. I think these guys are at least more evenly matched than this Tapology voting would have you believe. 94% expecting a knockout from the 35 and a half, almost 36-year-old. Very interesting. Very interesting. I can't say I saw that split.
No, me either. Next up, another one I'm excited for. We got Dan Ige versus, I always have Melquizael Costa. So Costa's a guy who I actually think it's probably a bit early to call it, but I think that he's going to start to drift into championship contender talks in maybe the next couple of years if he keeps up the streak that he's having right now. He's been great, and that last win that he had against Morgan Charriere really was, that kind of put him on the map because Charriere was a big-time favorite going into that one, if I remember correctly, and a highly touted prospect. Everybody's been looking at Morgan, guy out of France, the Pirate, I believe he goes by, and that the knockout was great. It was one of those fights where it looked like Charriere didn't take Costa too seriously, but he just completely obliterated him. So I think it's going to be a similar outcome against Dan Ige. He's fought and beat guys similar to Dan Ige. Like another guy that sticks out is Andre Fili. He went out there and choked out Andre Fili. I personally find Dan Ige and Andre Fili to be somewhat comparable skill level wise. They're decent at everything, good enough at everything to stay relevant, keep getting fights, stay in the UFC, be entertaining. But they're not excellent at any one facet. Well, no, I don't know. I mean, they're good, but that's all. I'll leave it at that. So Dan Ige very similar to Andre Fili, and I think that it's going to be a similar outcome. I think Costa is just going to be able to pick where he wants to win this fight and how he wants to do it. So, yeah, Melquizael Costa. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm on the same train as you. Mizakel Dalmatian Costa, fine nickname. Fitting for sure. Minus 220, moderate favorite. I think, the Tapali votes are with him as well. The younger guy, he's been very impressive. He's longer. He knows how to use it, how to shoot the box. He just has a little bit more energy and a little bit more zip to his his all-around striking game at this point. Like, Dan Ige has never been a big knockout artist. He, has always been the guy who's going to go out there, have a war, and maybe he'll win, maybe he'll lose, but it'll be a fairly technical battle. Mizakel Acosta uses distance. He's a strong kicker. He's a strong kickboxer. He can take punches well. He's on a strong streak over his last 5, as you can see. Dan Ige fought some of the best competition. And, even you look at Diego Lopez, Leroy Murphy, and Patricio Pitbull, all go in the distance, knock out Sean Woodson, and knocked out Andre Philly. So Dan Ige is a guy who is going to finish you. He's going to overwhelm you with volume, and eventually he can put you away. I think Costa is better at using his distance. I think he's faster. I think he's probably better at this point in his career than Dan Ige is. I think maybe a little bit. This would have been very interesting maybe 5 years ago, before Mezaquel's maybe development and before he's gotten more comfortable in the UFC. You look at a couple of his fights, Morgan Shair, like you said, with the knockout. He seems to be improving. His competition maybe isn't as good as Dan Ige is going to be, but he's improving with every outing. He's still entering his prime here at 29 and a half years old. So I think there's a lot of reasons to go with Mezaquel Acosta. 84% of the 3,200, almost 3,300 Tapology votes are with him as well. So that's where me and Keith are both going. Mezaquel Acosta getting the win over Dan Ige. Co-main event. Yeah.
What do you think about this one?
So I was looking at this one ahead a little bit, and I'm going to be on Jeff Neal. I know it's maybe not a sexy pick, but I just have more confidence in Jeff Neal. I don't want to say Euros Medic is he's not like a fraud, but a knockout over Muslim Salikov, that is solid, but I've never been particularly a fan of Muslim Salikov. I think he was a little bit boring. Gilbert Urbina 6 months ago. Again, I think I could say the same thing about Gilbert Urbina. He's got the loss to Punahele Serrano, who a lot of people thought had pillow hands for a little bit. So not a great loss, I guess you could say. Knockout of Tim Dirty Bird means I do like that one, but we got to remember that Tim's at the end of his career, and sometimes he does get knocked out. That's part of what the fun of the Dirty Bird is. And a loss via neck crank to Miktek Orobai. This is going to be the biggest test potentially for Euros Medic, but I like Jeff Neal. I think he's got really good reaction time. He still throws powerful punches, and he doesn't let himself get too out of position. And I know he's only 2-3 over his last 5, but you look at those losses: split decision over Ian Gary, or against Ian Gary, submitted by Shavkat Rachmanov, fine, and a loss via spinning back elbow to Carlos Prates, in which he was having a good showing up to that point. He's just ran into the problem that Carlos Prates likes to fight off his back foot or can't. So I like Jeff Neal, hands of steel. I think he's going to go out there. He's going to pressure Euros Medic, who is a guy against, again, the level of competition isn't quite at the level of what Jeff Neal's fought. So I like Jeff Neal. He's taken a little bit of step down in competition here, in my opinion. And I think he's going to get this one done.
Right there with you. I think it's going to be Jeff Neal as well. Again, we're agreeing with the people at Tapology, the very educated, very smart people that vote on that website. And we're going with Jeff Neal for the exact same reasons. I liked him in that Carlos Prates fight. And like you said, Carlos Prates can fight off his back foot. Jeff Neal likes to put pressure on people. Euros Medic, not as great fighting under pressure. So, yeah, give me Jeff Neal. I think he's going to walk him down and just use that veteran experience that he has. He's been in there with some great guys a long time in the UFC. And it's another fight for him. So just walk a guy down, use the experience that you have, throw the combos that you always throw. He has success against those middle-of-the-line guys, and that's exactly who Euros is. So, yeah, Jeff Neal. What do we got next?
Main event. Wow, we blazed through this.
We did. Nice, short, sweet, to the point. And with that being said, short, sweet, to the point, I'm going to go with Sean Strickland here. Bias pick, plus 210 underdog. Anthony Hernandez has really great grappling, and I think he's probably going to win a round or two against Sean Strickland. First of all, I do see this going the distance. I just think that Sean Strickland actually has pretty good defensive wrestling and pretty good stand-up against guys that take him down. He's very good at butt scooting to the edge, standing up at the cage. Very technical when it comes to his defensive grappling. It's only been a few times that we've seen him get molested on the ground like that. So, he's got very good submission defense, very sound. He's always, like guys try to always put him in the arm triangle, and he's like answer the phone very efficiently. Very good defensive jiu-jitsu. So at the very least, I do see it going the distance. And I think that Sean Strickland is going to probably jab and teep kick his way to winning 3 rounds. He's just so weird, so funky. It's so easy to figure out, it looks like, but then when you get in there with him, it looks to be tough. And Anthony Hernandez isn't really a guy that in the past has liked to fight on the outside. He likes to fight straight up and close the distance and go for those double leg takedowns and, try to grab a guy's hips and drag him to the ground. And I think that doesn't bode as well against a guy like Sean Strickland, who actually does also like to fight up the middle. But when you try to go outside, he throws nice hooks too. His striking is just crisp. It always has been. And I think that his defensive grappling, wrestling, it might be good enough to contend with Anthony Hernandez, who's going to be aggressive in that realm. So, at the very least, I think it's going to go the distance. Both guys, good cardio. But I'm going to go with the underdog here and take Sean Strickland. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I'm also torn on this one. Sean Strickland is a pretty moderate underdog. You have Fluffy Hernandez, who I really wasn't sure, because you also have that time off for Sean Strickland when you look over here, over a year off, and I think part of that was at least because of a suspension for charging the cage and some other promotion. A year is not that crazy, but it is a decent amount of time off. It's really hard to know what Sean Strickland we're going to get, because we've seen him go out there and just be way too passive and lose fights because of it, sometimes win fights because of it. Fluffy Hernandez is not that. He's going to go out there. He's going to be aggressive. He's going to put on a great show. He's aggressive, and it makes me think that he has the advantage. But the minus 250, I think, is a lot. You see on best fight odds over here, he's as high as minus 335. And I wonder what's going on there to have people so confident in Anthony Hernandez, because everything you said, Keith, is true about Sean having, strong defensive capabilities and, him being good at what, defending against or fighting against what Fluffy Hernandez does. And I agree with you that Sean Strickland is probably got better than what you would expect, given his loss of Dricus du Plessis, better than what you would expect grappling and takedown defense. So, and you got to imagine that's something that he's especially going to be drilling at this point. I feel like Sean Strickland is built to win this kind of fight, where Hernandez is going to go in there and expect to win dominantly on the feet, because Sean Strickland is seemingly got openings. But I think when he realizes that Sean's pretty much protected all the time, and he's just spent so much time sparring that his reaction time is really good. He just spends a lot of time in the cage. He's got that strong muscle memory. And I think it's going to prove to be difficult for Fluffy Hernandez. And like you said, you think Sean's going to win 3. I think so. I think he's gonna. And I wasn't really sure where I was going to go with this prediction when I started, but I feel better and better as the more I think about Sean Strickland having that tight, crisp defense, being able to land his straight punches. They're roughly about the same size, and I think sometimes Strickland is you could see him having an issue against the guy that he's not able to reach. I don't think he's going to have that problem against Fluffy Hernandez. And again, I think his takedown defense is solid enough. I can see him dropping a round or two, like you said, but yeah, I think he comes out and he, it's one of those performances where he wins doing something that only Sean Strickland can do. Maybe be kind of passive, win the first round, win the third round. Fluffy maybe wins the fourth, and then maybe Sean Strickland wins the fifth, especially the last 2 minutes to give him the round. And you wonder where that was the whole fight.
Yeah, I'm excited though. It's always fun to have a Sean Strickland fight. You're starting to see like more of the media stuff with Sean Strickland again. It's just like I don't know if he'll ever hold the belt again, but it's always way more fun when Sean Strickland is main eventing a fight night. Do you agree?
No, the UFC is better. They talk about how like the NFL is better when some teams are good. I think the UFC is better when you have characters like Sean Strickland who are active and are they have a reason to be in front of a camera and drum up fights. I was just talking like we talked about to open the show what what the UFC White House card might look like. The UFC doesn't really have that many superstars anymore. People who are going to draw eyeballs, maybe because they want eyeballs to be on the UFC and not the individuals. But, for the UFC White House cards, you talk about how it has to be big names, one of the best cards of all time. Does Sean Strickland make that? Is he too predictable or too unpredictable to be on there? I don't know.
Yeah, it depends on how this weekend goes for him too, how much damage he takes and everything. But
True.
when it comes to I just do want to touch on that point that you just made. I hope that's not the direction the UFC is going in, because stars made the sport before the sport made the stars. It was the Chuck Liddell, unfortunately, and like you didn't even know like as a kid that Chuck Liddell was a UFC fighter. Like you just kind of knew that he was a badass motherfucker. Like
Yeah,
you
right.
find out what the UFC was until later. It's just like, oh, this guy
Mhm.
Chuck Liddell always pops up in movies, and then Conor McGregor put the sport on such a stage. So they need to get back to putting these stars on a platform, and
Then the stars have power. Then
so
maybe he's not good for business.
I don't know, man. It was always good for business when the business was a little bit smaller. Now at this point, I don't know. I want to see the stars, but
You and me both. But again, we're not in charge, and neither is Dana.
Yeah, that's the funniest part. Well, with that being said, please like, comment, subscribe, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and you can check us out on Spotify as well. Am I missing anything?
Not that I can think of.
All right.
Can you believe we have as much say on fights being made as Dana White? That blows my mind.